Well, hello, 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 everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to Live at 5. Live at 5 is a stream I do aptly at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on my main channel. On Fridays, we go over to my second channel, Actively Unwoke, for happy hour, which is actually going to be a pertinent topic of conversation today. If you've never been to a happy hour so far, you might be convinced to after today. Sadly, I don't know if we're going to be having happy hour this week, or I might have to adjust the time. Anyway, we'll work out the details later. I promise you're going to want to come to happy hour after what you see today. And on Saturdays, we typically we're doing Sassy Saturdays sometimes. Keep an eye on the channel for when we do special Saturday streams. I don't always do them. Sometimes I actually take a day off every now and again. Shadow Fox says, can't wait for the re-release of that audiobook. Oh, dude. Actually, we might be Shadow Fox. One of the things I might do on today's stream, if you guys are up for it, is I was thinking about reading the introduction so that everyone can get a preview of what it will actually sound like when the audiobook inevitably, some way or another, gets re-released. So if you want me to read the introduction to the book on today's live stream, I'm happy to do that. Let me know in the chat if you would like that. Something I'm thinking about. The problem is so many people here have already heard me read the introduction because I've done it a couple times now in a couple different places. I don't want to bore people. Anyway, we'll get into that in a second. But guys, we have got a fun-filled show for today. We are actually going to be talking about, I actually received the greatest endorsement that I have ever received, ever in the history of my unwoke career, and it came from the most unlikely of places, from a progressive rag in Vermont whose reporter I aptly ignored when she tried to reach out to me for comment. And I'll tell a little bit more about that story, but let me just read you the first paragraph. I have not read this full article yet. I'm going to be reading this full article and reacting to it live on the stream today, but I have read the first paragraph. And the first paragraph is just like, I don't even care if the rest of the article is a blatant hit piece on me, which, like, I'm sure that it is because I know this publication. But for those of you who don't know, I've been in a little bit of a war with the state of Vermont for the last month or so. If you saw the guidance or the assistant principal from the Burlington school district on the news on, say, Laura Ingraham or like Ben Shapiro talking about how they were transitioning kids in the 5th grade, and kids are coming out of the closet in the 5th grade with the help of the school guidance counselor. That was me, and that was my Unwoke Army. We were the ones that uncovered that. And so the 7 Days publication in Vermont has written a hit piece about us. But the first paragraph is fabulous. And I actually have to thank one of the members of the LPNH, because so how I found out about this was a member of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire went to Vermont over the weekend, picked up the free newspaper, and lo and behold, I was in it. And here's the first paragraph. On April 1st, online content creator and self-described unwoke cult leader Karlin Borisenko cracked open an imperial peanut butter stout and settled in for her Friday night happy hour. In these weekly virtual gatherings streamed on her YouTube to nearly 14,000 subscribers, she's talking about my other channel, not this one, Borisenko shares recordings of equity-focused workshops and trainings, providing barbed play-by-play commentary. I don't think the author meant it as an endorsement, but I'm taking it as an endorsement, and we're going to read the whole rest of the article today, and I'm going to be reacting to it live. I think that's going to be really fun. We're also going to be looking at this kindergarten sex ed curriculum from Washington State. I mean, come on. Kindergarten sex ed. And yes, it really does say the vagina has great elasticity and can adjust to the size of a penis. 5-year-olds. This is for kindergarteners. Look. I'll even show you. Where it says. It says right here, target grade, kindergarten lesson 2. So we're going to be reading what Washington State wants to teach kindergarteners in sex education. I know I have a few residents of Washington who watch. Congratulations, this is your state. And then if I'm feeling so inclined and you guys would like to hear it, I was thinking that we might be able to celebrate tomorrow's release of my book, Actively Unwoke, The Ultimate Guide for Fighting Back Against Woke Insanity. And I thought I would read the introduction to you guys just in case someone ordered the audiobook or is excited about the audiobook. I want to give you a sense of what the audiobook is going to sound like when it eventually gets re-released. And I think, I might as well, it is my book. I probably should celebrate it being released. Jared says, "All hail the unwoke cult leader me." Yes, I think what I appreciate about this 7 Days article is I now have a media publication calling me a cult leader. I think that's pretty fabulous. So, guys, I'm going to put a poll in the chat and you guys get to decide because some of you have already heard me read the introduction to my book, whether you be my locals or you subscribe to my Actively Unwoke podcast that just launched. It's on Apple, it's on Google. I don't know if it's on Spotify yet because I think there was a technical problem, but it should be on Spotify at some point. Do you want me to read the introduction to Actively Unwoke on this here live stream? And you get to choose. I will follow whatever the chat wants to do. Yes or no. I will put that poll in the chat. You've got until we get to that part of the chat to cast your vote. But before we get into that, of course, guys, I would love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. If you could pre-order my book, if you are so inclined, it is currently available in its hardcover version, which is beautiful. They did for the amount of issues I have surrounding this book at the moment, they did do a beautiful job with the hardcover version of the book. The Kindle version, I'm told, is pretty great as well. It is coming out. You can actually get the Kindle version immediately. If you want the hardcover, you're gonna have to wait till tomorrow, but you can pre-order it right now on Amazon. All sorts of non-Amazon options as well. If you don't want to spend money on Amazon, I totally get it. Head over to activelyunwoke.com and click this here non-Amazon options. Actively Unwoke is a book that I tried to make, well, aptly, to be fighting back. It's about fighting back against woke insanity. And I'm not just pontificating about it. Listen, I think there are too many books that are just intellectualizing about the woke and the far left progressive ideology. I wanted to write a book that was about first understanding it, because we have to do that. I spent about 4 chapters really breaking down in plain English, making it as easy as I could to understand what the woke ideology is from a highly practical level. I'm not going into the philosophy. I'm not going into the academic literature. I based my analysis of it off of, frankly, being the person that has watched probably more woke trainings than anyone else on the planet. At this point, James Lindsay's read the most philosophy. I've watched the most woke trainings start to finish of anyone else that I know. If you can find someone that you think might compete with me, throw their name out there. I'll take a look. But I'm pretty sure that I've actually watched more woke trainings than anyone else on the planet. It's why I'm going a little bit insane. And that is what I based my analysis off of, how the woke are actually showing up when they're going into corporations, when they're going into school districts, when they're going into government. What are they actually doing? How does it manifest in the real world? In the second part of the book, I give you highly actionable tips and tricks and case studies and things that every single one of you can do to fight back against this woke insanity when it shows up in your lives. There's a chapter on what to do in the schools. There's a chapter on what to do in corporations and the workplace. There's a chapter on government, and there's a chapter on culture. And then I rounded it out with a third section about taking care of yourself when you're fighting back against the woke, and also what to do if you get canceled, something I have a little bit of experience with. So if you would like all that and much more, you can order my book. Comes out tomorrow, Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against woke insanity in your life. You can get it in hardcover and Kindle. And as I said, the audio version will be coming back in some form or another. I don't know when yet. I'm still waiting to find out that information. When I do know, I'll pass it on to all of you. And maybe if you want me to, we can do a little preview today and I can read the introduction for you in the way that the introduction to the book should be read. Emphasize says, I can't watch the news without headphones anymore. Thank you, Emphasize. I don't know what that means, but okay. But okay. Guys, one other way that you can support the work I'm doing, if you are so inclined, is to become a member of my Locals community. And now my Locals has weekly Zooms that we do on Mondays at 7 p.m. And so we actually have a community Zoom call for supporters in a little less than 2 hours time. So now really is the very best time to join my locals. If you've been thinking about becoming a supporter, it is the only way that I can continue to actually do this is by people supporting my work in locals as a member. Or you can give money in other ways too. You can PayPal me. You can do crypto, and all the information is down there. But honestly, the most fun way is locals, because when you give through locals, you will get access to all sorts of exclusive perks. Like you are going to get access to those 2 weekly Zoom calls that we do twice a week on Mondays at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at noon. You're going to get access to Bitchcraft. Bitchcraft is coming up on Saturday. So we're going to be gathering at 3 p.m. on Saturday for crafting time. You can knit, which is obviously the most superior of all crafts. It's what I will be doing. You can crochet, you can draw, you can paint, you can clean your gun, you can fold your laundry, you can play video games, you can just come hang out. I don't really care, but you can bring whatever you like and come to our Bitchcraft, which is on Saturday at 3 p.m. And then, of course, we have all sorts of other things that are going on in locals. We have a supporter Discord. We have the Unwoke Army. We have exclusive live streams that are just available in locals. There is a ton of stuff, and I do think that I actually have one of the most active and engaged communities on, quite frankly, that entire platform. People actually know each other. And they know each other because of the community Zooms. So I strongly encourage you, if you are a current supporter in my locals, or you're going to become a supporter in my locals, and then next 1 hour and 45 minutes, come to our community Zoom tonight, because they really, really are the best. It is not just me talking the whole time. In fact, I really try to talk as little as absolutely possible. Emphasize says, I have to listen to the news through my headphones so the kids don't hear what is being discussed. I now understand, Emphasize. Yeah, you're going to need those headphones today. Now, guys, our locals community Zoom is going to be a little bit different today, because I do have to bow out for about an hour, because I got harangued into being on Free State Live tonight, which I've actually wanted to do. Free State Live is a weekly live show, basically put on by the Free State Project in New Hampshire. They've been asking me to come on for a while, and I keep saying, no, I have my local Zoom on Mondays. I can't do it. I have my local Zoom on Mondays. I can't do it. Thankfully, though, Patrice of Tim Pool Super Chat fame has volunteered to moderate our Zoom call tonight for the 1 hour that I have to be gone to be on Free State Live, because Justin O'Donnell, this guy right here, he cornered me at a bar I was at on Saturday after I'd had a couple beers, and he said, Carla, do you want to come on Free State Live on Monday? And I said, sure, why not? Because I had beer. Justin made a strategic move, and it paid off. It was the right time to ask me, to get me to agree. So I will be gone for 1 hour of the Zoom call tonight, but don't worry, I'll be coming right back. The Zoom call tonight is going to last for like 5.5 hours anyway. Monday night is a really, really long Zoom call, so don't worry. I'll be out and back, and people can have fun without me in the meantime. Yep, Patrice has got it under control. Patrice has now been promoted to Queen of Sass for locals until someone dethrones her. Yes, that is a challenge. All right, guys, let's dig in now. Even before we even get to this 7 days article, I do just want to give a shout out to fellow Free Stater Lily Tang Williams. Lily, as you know, goes by Lily for Liberty on Twitter. She's been on the channel a couple times. She is running for Congress in New Hampshire, and Lily may have had the most badass Mother's Day post of any Mother's Day post that happened last night. Check this out. This is from, I think, Lily's Facebook. Happy Mother's Day. I will not beg on the floor like my mom did in China. No compromise on our 2A if we do not want to live on our knees. New Hampshire passed a bill to override all federal gun legislation. We live up to our motto, live free or die. Make your move. Don't wait until it's too late, like my friends in Shanghai. And then we've got Lily right here with her family, and they've all got their guns out. And I will tell you, Lily, we didn't really talk about this on the channel this past week, but it is true that New Hampshire last week, the bill has now passed through the House, and it has passed the Senate, and it has to go back to the House for reconciliation because the Senate added an amendment onto it. But like the New Hampshire House and Senate did pass a bill last week to nullify all federal gun laws in New Hampshire. So any federal gun law that gets passed by the Biden administration, guess what? Ain't going anywhere here. And New Hampshire is probably one of the most friendly states for this. Like Florida really needs to make their move. New Hampshire already has constitutional carry. They're now nullified all federal gun laws. Florida ain't got nothing on New Hampshire when it comes to liberty. And so I thought that that was great. I was really excited when I saw Phil share that out, but I was equally excited when I saw Jeremy Kaufman's reply because he said he donated to Lily's campaign and got this postcard in the mail. That's Lily's thank you postcard. How great is that? I believe that Lily's website is Lily for Congress. Let me even just go into her Twitter profile right here. So if you want to get one of these awesome postcards of Lily posing with a gun, maybe it's just Lily Tang Williams. Oh, yep. Okay, so lilytangwilliams.com. Please support Lily Tang Williams for Congress. She's absolutely the person that New Hampshire needs in Congress. She is a fighter. She grew up in Maoist China. She knows what it's like. She is just an absolute spitfire. She's going to succeed through pure force of will. I actually do profile Lily in the book. There's a whole section about the work that Lily has done in this book. So definitely support her because honestly, like who else is going to send you a postcard like that as a thank you for a donation? That's just how we roll in New Hampshire, guys. It's just the way it goes. And no place else I would rather be. All right, guys, please mount that like button if you have not already. Now let's read this here 7 days article. Now, you know why I'm especially excited to read this? So for those who don't know, or maybe you don't know about my history, I grew up in Vermont. I lived in Vermont from the time I was 0 years old up until when did I move to New Hampshire? I think I moved to New Hampshire when I was about I wanna say, wasn't it? It was like 2000. Oh, no, I know exactly when I moved to New Hampshire. I know exactly when I moved to New Hampshire because it was the day I met Victor. Victor was my mover to New Hampshire, so it was May. Guys, I am almost coming up on my 11-year anniversary of both moving to New Hampshire and meeting my husband. Because both things happened on the same day, and it happened on May 14th, 2011. That was the day I moved to New Hampshire. So in between when I was basically 30 years, I spent the first 30 years of my life in Vermont, moved to New Hampshire, never leaving now. But the reason I bring this up is I was a Democrat for 20 years. When I lived in Vermont, back so when Vermont was the first state to pass civil unions in the entire country, civil unions were the precursor to gay marriage. I want to say that happened in 1999. I'm pretty sure it was 1999. Someone can fact check me on that. But I actually like that was one of my first political issues was I was very supportive of civil unions in Vermont. And I bring that up because I have not read this article yet. But yeah, Jared says 30 years. I thought you were 29 years old. Well done, Jared. Jared's now king of the chat. Everyone has to be nice to Jared now. Emphasize says Florida will always welcome you when you visit. If only I could carry a gun, which I won't be able to do in Florida. That's all right. But the reason I bring up my backstory with being a Democrat that grew up in Vermont that supported civil unions is just based on the photo in this article. I have a strong suspicion that this article Allison wrote, who Allison, the reporter I ignored when she reached out to me for comment. This article, I have a strong suspicion that she's going to say something to the effect of, "I'm trying to burst the LGBTQ plus IA, two spirit, like whatever the hell." I think she's going to try to say that I'm transphobic or homophobic or something like that, which couldn't actually be further from the truth. And anyone that's ever listened to my content knows that couldn't be further from the truth. But that's just like I'm getting the impression, based on that image at the top of the article, that she might be trying to articulate that I might be trying to pop an equality balloon of some sort. Does anyone else have that particular impression? Pretty sure I do. So I just wanted to be clear before we even dig into this article, which again has the greatest endorsement about me that I've ever seen in my life. I just want to be clear that I don't care if someone's gay. I don't care if they're lesbian. I don't care if they're bi. I don't care if they're pansexual. I don't care if they're trans. I don't want kids medically transitioned before they're 18. And I sure as shit don't want guidance counselors in elementary school convincing kids that they're trans or gay or any of those other things when they are not. Kids should be allowed to develop into who they are and to come out when they are ready. When they're ready. I don't particularly care if they do. I don't even care if they socially transition while they're in school. I just don't think we should be medicating and making permanent medical decisions for people that are under 18 because the logic function of their brain has not fully developed. They are not making decisions from a place of something they can commit to for the rest of their lives. Listen, man, I have a metric F ton of tattoos. I didn't get a single tattoo before I was 18. In fact, I didn't get a single tattoo before I was 21. I did pierce my tongue the week after I turned 18, but guess what? I eventually took that out. I mean, I took it out like 15 years later, but like, and I never regretted that decision, but it was a temporary thing that could have been taken out. There are simply decisions that you don't allow people to make before they are ready to do so. And I sure as heck do not think that schools should be pushing kids into making these decisions. And I do not think that's transphobic to say. I do not think that's homophobic to say. Half of the men, actually probably more, like I want to say like a good 75% of the men who watch my channel are gay. I am a magnet for gay men. Like I couldn't get away from them if I tried, and they're fabulous. So why would I really want to? But like I have a feeling that she's going to be making these accusations about me that are just not true, so I'm just going to head them off at the pass. Brian says CC is on constitutional carry is on for next session when they come back. And Emphasize says you can carry in Florida, not openly. Wink, wink. Well, Victor is haranguing me to buy me a concealed carry pistol. So we'll see what's happening on that. He's got one all picked out that he wants me to try. It has a gold trigger. Of course, I like it because it has gold. All right, let's read this article. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. After online trainings were mocked, educators rally around LGBTQ youth. Oh yeah, this definitely isn't gonna be a hit piece on me at all. This definitely isn't gonna be a hit piece on me at all. All right. How did I not see this before yesterday? I am shocked that I didn't find out about this. Again, and I want to say, Allison did reach out to me for comment, and then I ignored her. And then I emailed her back at some point. I was like, maybe I'll give you a comment. And then I don't even know if she emailed me back after that because I ignored her again. Because, like, why? I don't think I know what 7 days is. 7 days is a progressive rag. Like, why would I even bother to give them a comment? So I do want to just like note that I ignored her when she reached out to me. All right, let's read. On April 1st, online content creator and self-described unwoke cult leader Carlin Borisenko cracked open an Imperial peanut butter stout and settled in for her Friday night happy hour in these weekly virtual gatherings streamed on her YouTube to nearly 14,000 subscribers. Again, she's talking about my second channel, youtube.com/activelyunwoke. Borisenko shares recordings of equity-focused workshops and trainings, providing barbed play-by-play commentary. The reason I love this opening so much is she watched the stream. I'm sure that Allison has written a hit piece on me. Watching the stream, the fact I drank an Imperial peanut butter stout last night, or not last night. Like, well, maybe I did drink one last night and I just haven't said. No, I didn't. But like the fact that she knew that I drank an Imperial peanut butter stout on that stream is like, dude, I have to give her credit. I have to. Yeah, Hallie says they're trying to make you look ridiculous. I mean, who wouldn't? Like, dude, you need to drink when you watch this stuff. Like, I watch way too much of this stuff to like not be driven crazy by it at some level. Borisenko, who lives in New Hampshire, but who grew up in Vermont, Allison. I spent the first 30 years of my life in Vermont. I went to Williamstown High School, Williamstown Elementary School, Williamstown Middle School, Williamstown High School. I graduated in 1999. I moved back to Vermont after college. They want to portray me as being out of state, when in fact I have lived in Vermont. I lived in Vermont 3 times longer than I lived in New Hampshire. Focus this oh god, I just said that really loud. Sorry. Borisenko, who lives in New Hampshire, focused this particular night on the Burlington School District. She played recordings of 2 community workshops the district's Office of Equity had organized. Let's talk about anti-racism and let's talk about gender identity and expression. Well, not only that they had organized, Allison, but that the Burlington School District's Office of Equity had put on YouTube on their YouTube channel. Nat D says, did I ever meet Bernie Sanders? Yes, on several occasions I have met Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is actually a really nice guy. And for as much as I might disagree with Bernie Sanders on some things, I do actually have a lot of respect for the hustle and the consistency in which Bernie Sanders has. Bernie Sanders does actually like care about Vermont. He does actually care about the people in Vermont. So you won't actually find me saying bad things about Bernie Sanders. I actually think he's kind of a good dude. I do. Misguided, perhaps, but I think that, you can't take anything away from Bernie in terms of his consistency. In the latter, Edmonds Middle School assistant principal Nikki Ellis, who is transgender. Nikki Ellis isn't transgender. Nikki Ellis is non-binary. I mean, are those have to be two different things. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you are non-binary, you haven't transitioned to anything. Transgender means you've transitioned. Non-binary means that you are not anything. So, no, I wouldn't say that she's transgendered. She's non-binary. And Burlington High School music teacher Billy Ray Poli, who is gay, spoke about their experiences and in conversation with middle school students discussed ways to support LGBTQ youth. As they spoke, Borisenko widened her eyes and dropped her jaw in an exaggerated fashion. Yes, I am never known to drop my jaw in an exaggerated fashion. That absolutely never happens on one of my streams ever. Everyone should have. Dude, if you are listening to a 12-year-old talk about coming out of the closet when they are in 5th grade, everyone's jaw should drop. Everyone's jaw should drop. But what she's doing, she's trying to make it seem like I was playing around. I was obviously not playing around, Allison. I actually was genuinely shocked at the bullshit that I was seeing on the screen. This truly, to me, feels like we're watching brainwashing. We're watching child abuse. Yes. Yes. Borisenko told viewers. I actually feel sick watching this. But I feel like it's important that we do watch, because this is what's going on in schools every day. She later issued a call to action. Let's expose these fuckers. And expose I did. We all did. Yeah, Carlin is dramatic. Spoiler alert. Carlin is dramatic. Borisenko followed up with a lengthy online article on Substack headlined, "The most woke school district in America is grooming children live on the internet, including clips from both workshops." Well, it wasn't just me who worked on that, Allison. It was over 24 people in my unwoke army who spent all weekend working on it. You also notice she doesn't have the temerity to actually link to my article. Schwan Hammond says, so disappointed that Daryl Davis is an SJW. I don't think Daryl Davis is an SJW. I think that he's of a certain generation and has not caught up with what's going on. I don't think he's an SJW, though. That's not how I would characterize him. Days later, Ben Shapiro, a like-minded, high-profile conservative commentator. Dude, Allison, Ben Shapiro and I have very little in common. I am a libertarian. Ben Shapiro is a conservative. Ben Shapiro and I disagree on a lot. Do not paint me with Ben Shapiro brush, Allison. Let's just put a stop to that right now. Ben Shapiro, a like-minded, high-profile conservative political commentator, shared several clips from the Gender Identity Workshop with his millions of followers as part of a commentary on how teachers are indoctrinating children. Then, on April 6th, episode of Fox News, The Ingram Angle, host Laura Ingram also shared the footage in a segment called Doom and Gloom. Yes, it's true. My unwoke army did the journalism that conservative journalists refuse to do on their damn own because they've been spending too much time on Twitter, and then conservative journalists covered the journalism. It is true. George Andrevaso Nunez says, I already heard you doing it, but other people will benefit from listening to it. Support her in locals and get this and other benefits. Oh, so Georgia, you're talking about the reading the intro to the book. Well, it looks like 82% of you want me to read the introduction, so we'll do that. We'll do that. Patrice says, hopefully Tim gets someone on with Daryl to show him the truth. No, I'm not going to go on that show. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to break hopes and dreams. I don't think you'll ever see me on Tim Pool's show ever. Not ever. Not ever in the history of ever. I'm sorry. I know you guys want me on that show, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Like, he has no reason to bring me on that show. Like, there's no reason at all. So I'm sorry. We just have to be honest about the situation, all right? What's happening in our schools is sexual influence peddling, Ingram told viewers. What they're saying is children should go to school to learn how to read and write and that their innocence is worth protecting. Yeah, that's legit. The blowback in Burlington was swift. The school district's central office and middle school, as well as assistant principal Ellis, were inundated with mostly anonymous calls and emails that appeared to be primarily from outside of the state, expressing what Superintendent Tom Flanagan called hateful, harmful, and discriminatory. Oh no! Oh no! They got mean emails? They got mean emails and voicemails? Oh my god, it must have been horrible for them to get mean emails and voicemails. It's almost as if people who have inflicted cancel culture on every single person who disagrees with them ever can't actually take it themselves when they are inundated with mean emails and voicemails. The community countered by rallying behind LGBTQ educators and students. Flanagan, and this is actually perfect. It is actually perfect that this is coming out because I do have a long awaited follow up article, like almost finished, about what's going on in the city of Burlington. So this is actually going to play into this perfectly. See, I love it when I put off doing something and I procrastinate on doing something. And then all of a sudden I get like a much needed puzzle piece that I need to do that thing. It's like the universe pushes you in the right direction. Shadow Fox says, I bombarded Lydia, so maybe she can reach out. Lydia doesn't like me. Lydia doesn't like me at all. Carlin does have a new book, and Tim loves him some LP and calling out the woke. If you guys want to try, I just don't think it's going to work. Lydia hates me. Cassandra Fairbanks hates me. I don't think Tim has feelings about me either way, but he certainly thinks he can get there are certainly more high profile people he can get on than me. Like, you guys can give it a try if you want to. I'm not like I don't know. Like, I don't think it's gonna happen, but if you guys want to try, I'm not gonna tell you to stop. That's all I'm saying. Flanagan emailed staff, families, and students asking them to join him in wrapping around the brave staff and students who have spoken up about their experiences and who are creating change. Burlington Mayor Miro Weinberger, in a tweet, thanked Flanagan and wrote that he was grateful and was able to send his daughters to the school district with such a commitment to those values. Oh, God. Patrice is going to be super chatting every day. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. I mean, I am technically running for governor. I am. We're thinking very seriously about creating a website for my gubernatorial campaign. There might be a t-shirt of some sort. We'll see. We'll see. The series of events have shown how liberal and inclusive communities such as Burlington can become a symbol of woke insanity to right-wing conservatives who use race and gender identity to turn schools into an unceasing culture war battleground. I am not a conservative, Allison. I am not on the right. I am not a conservative. I was a Democrat for 20 effing years. Half of my audience are gay men. My God. I'm going to make a clip of me reading that paragraph and tweet it at her, just with the clip of me yelling, I'm not a conservative. While local educators who work to promote equity say the offensive has only strengthened their resolve, they're also considering additional safety measures to keep students out of harm's way. Oh yes, tell us 7 days what you're considering, because if you guys think that we've given up on this, no. No. This is not over. We haven't stopped. We're allowing all of you, because I know none of you are going to watch my channel, we are allowing all of you to lull yourselves into a false sense of security. We haven't given up on this. You can put as many safety measures as you want in place. Ain't nothing going to protect you from the mountain of FOIA requests that are coming your way when we damn well feel like it. Because we know, like, listen, the Unwoke Army is under no illusion that we're going to be able to beat this stuff back in Vermont at all, because Vermont is insane. Like, they're basically communists. Let's be honest. They're insane. But that is not going to prevent them from having to fulfill a metric fuck ton of FOIA requests when we get damn well ready for it. Yes, I'm basically at war with Burlington, Vermont. That's true. I'm basically at war with Burlington, Vermont. First and foremost, it's a double down on exactly why we need to be here doing this work, said Outright's Vermont executive director. Oh, Outright Vermont has me blocked on Twitter because Outright Vermont is the organization that we invaded their webinar for Spy Stream, and we caught them on recording calling me a hate channel, slandering me. We have it on recording, and slandering absolutely every single person who watches this channel too, by the way. Let's see. AD sells LGBTQIP2SAA. I posit the lefties are perpetuating their own bigotry of hiding and erasure and prioritizing one group over the other with the plus. That is true, AD. I mean, if they're enough to be integrated into the plus, that does seem like they're kind of trying to hide them and minimize their lived experiences, doesn't it? The Burlington-based nonprofit has been working to empower LGBTQ youth through community and school initiatives such as support groups, camps, and educational programming since 1989. You know, I'm actually really pissed that Allison called me a conservative in this, because you can literally look at my Twitter bio and I say I'm a effing libertarian. Like, you can literally look at my Twitter bio. It's like she's obviously looked in my Twitter bio because she's got me as a self-fashioned unwoke cult leader, which is on Twitter. So she's obviously looked at my Twitter page. I say I'm a libertarian I rag on conservatives all the time on Twitter. I have made shitting on conservatives on Twitter into an art form. And yet still, here we are. No, that is not true, Boris. Don't put that on me. I'm absolutely not a conservative in any way, shape, or form. No, wrong, incorrect. I appreciate you, Boris. I do. I just disagree with you on that point. We have to recognize that these are not new strategies that are coming in particular from the right. They're basically politicizing the lives of marginalized people in a way to gain political power and backing. There's no smoke and mirrors about what's actually happening. Well, that's actually funny, Dana, because there is smoke and mirrors. In fact, we have your smoke and mirrors literally on video when you started to hold the webinar and then realized that my Unwoke Army had infiltrated your effing webinar, and then you canceled the webinar mid-webinar after you realized that we were streaming you live on the internet and that we had spies in there that you couldn't identify. So don't tell us you're not hiding anything. We caught you on Spy Stream literally hiding things, Dana. That is provably not true. If you weren't hiding anything, if there was no smoke and mirrors, then why did you cancel your webinar in the middle of the webinar as soon as you figured out that we were streaming your webinar live on my channel? By the way, in violation of open meeting law, Vermont Human Rights Commission. Don't think we've forgotten about that either. Kaplan points to data from the most recent Vermont Youth Risk Behavior Survey from 2019 as an illustration of how LGBTQ students are struggling. The survey found the high school LGBTQ students are nearly 4 times more likely than their heterosexual cisgender peers to have hurt themselves on purpose in the past year, and 5 times more likely to have attempted suicide. They are also significantly more likely to skip school due to safety concerns and to use illegal drugs. We want to see the numbers of health outcomes for LGBTQ youth shifting, Kaplan said. We want to make sure we are living in a state where LGBTQ youth have hope, equity, and power. Dude, well, I think that all that data is very sad. I think that the way that Vermont is going about doing this, with having guidance counselors encouraging students in 5th grade when they are 10 years old to come out of the closet, I think how they're doing it is fundamentally misguided and wrong and is only going to hurt people in the long run. In the days following the Fox News backlash, Flanagan said the district received tons of messages of support from Vermont residents. Elementary and middle school students created posters and cards to show their solidarity with Assistant Principal Ellis. Okay, so now the Burlington, Vermont schools have literally assigned elementary school students to draw cards to make adults feel better about getting mean emails. Can we just all wrap our heads around how screwed up that is? This is part of the problem with the public schools right here because it is not about the students at all. The students do not even factor into their decision making. It is all about making the teachers feel good. They are literally having students write, "I'm sorry you got mean emails" cards to make the teachers feel better about the mean emails they're receiving. And this is why I actually don't think there's any hope to save Vermont. I think that Vermont is going to be a fascinating case of what happens when a school and a city and ultimately a state build their entire existence on the idea of equity. I think in Vermont, we are going to see Harrison Bergeron come alive right in front of us. I don't think there's any saving it because too much of the population is behind it. But I do think that we can look at it as a warning sign about what's to come. I think it's like when as a conservative, Carlin is hard to listen to most of the time. No way she is one. Exactly. I'm not a conservative in any way. I tell conservatives off all the time. But so there was so back when this whole idea of like should we just peacefully divorce was getting a lot of traction in the media, I actually kind of liked that. Not because well, I'm obviously in favor of New Hampshire secession, but the thing of it is I actually think if the two sides were to like peacefully divorce, we would get to watch in real time as the left just dives into like total chaos and socialism, and it would kind of be interesting to watch just from a perspective of like sitting back and learning what happens like real time right in front of us. I actually think we're going to get a chance to see that with Vermont. I do. It may not come as quickly as just if we peacefully divorced, but I do actually think we're going to see that real time with Vermont. Yeah, Nat D, it's going to explode like evergreen. Yes, it is. Vermont, Burlington in particular, is going to be the city form of Evergreen State College. They are building their entire city based on equity. It's actually it's insane. It really is. And we haven't stopped talking about it yet. We took a little bit of a break because we got really burnt out on it and now we're coming back. No, I'm not a communist. No. No. I don't care if people want to live in their own communist utopia. I don't care if Vermont wants to be communist. Just as long as like when I'm elected governor of New Hampshire, we're going to build a wall. And anyone that from Vermont that wants to come into New Hampshire, we're going to require a voting record or a picture of their last ballot to make sure they aren't a socialist. I'm only half joking about that. For us, it's about making sure that all members of our community feel like they belong and are supported, and that their well being is being taken into consideration and they're able to express who they really are as individuals. That just seems so clearly right to me. Oh, she did know I was from Vermont. We'll talk about that in a second. But like, how do conservatives feel in Burlington? Because I know that I've actually talked to many conservative adults and actually even teachers. I've talked to teachers teaching in the Burlington School District who have told me flat out that they do not feel comfortable speaking up, that they do not feel comfortable being who they really are. So no, Tom, you are not trying to create an environment in which people feel comfortable to be who they really are. You are not doing that at all. Oh, look, they talk about SpyStream. Holy shit. They talk about SpyStream. This article is the greatest endorsement that I've ever had written about me ever. This is amazing. This is actually awesome. The following week, Borisenko was back at it. The Williamstown, Vermont native, who earned her master's degree in business administration at Norwich University, according to her LinkedIn profile, was finding plenty of material in her former home state for her audience. Well, I have to again credit her for looking at my LinkedIn profile. Yes, I did get my MBA at Norwich University while I was also working at Norwich University when I lived in Vermont. She could have said that at the beginning. She could have said the Vermont native. But no, she wanted to paint me as like just an out-of-state influence. No, dude, I lived in Vermont for 30 years. Please. On April 13th, Borisenko tried to gain access to a Vermont Human Rights Commission online workshop. Well, I did actually gain access about the state of LGBTQ inclusion in Vermont schools. The event, facilitated by Outright, was apparently ripe fodder for her spy stream, which she describes as a way to expose what people are saying when they think those outside the community aren't watching. Spy stream is endorsed. Spy stream media endorsement. How great is that? How awesome is that? Because of recent events in Burlington, both Outright and the Commission were aware that a disruption might occur. After several of Borisenko's followers, who she refers to as members of her unwoke army, managed to gain access and began recording, organizers made the decision to shut down the workshop in an effort to keep the learning context safe for all registered attendees who were in earnest there to learn how to support LGBTQ plus youth in schools. So why couldn't they have taught us how to support LGBTQ plus youth in schools? Listen, Allison, I was working on civil unions probably while you were still in diapers. Like, why couldn't we be taught how to support if all they were doing in this webinar, was to show people how to support LGBTQ plus youth in schools, then why did they have to hide it? Why did they have to hide it? I would have let them say whatever they wanted to say. We would have actually broadcast their message to a much wider audience. If what they're saying is so perfect and so, like, obviously not offensive and so obviously not child abuse, then why did they hide it? Trisha, a parent in Shelburne, had logged into the workshop after hearing about it through the Champlain Valley School District. The superintendent of the Champlain Valley School District was also on that webinar, by the way. A few minutes in, she said organizers informed participants that a YouTube channel was broadcasting the workshop without the organizers' consent and suggested they turn off their video cameras and remove their names from Zoom squares. Vermont is a one-party recording state. I don't need your consent to broadcast your webinars on my channel. Vermont is one party recording state. It's like they don't know their own laws. I sort of didn't get it at first, but eventually it sank in that she had shared personal information that was likely being streamed on YouTube. You were on an online public webinar that was promoted on Twitter. You did not have the expectation of privacy, Trisha. You signed in to a webinar that was promoted to the public on Twitter. That's how we found out about it. Then it started to hit, oh my God. I just feel violated. I feel like I'm being watched. And it started to feel really scary. Dude, Spy Stream has just been endorsed. This is exactly the purpose of Spy Stream. This is, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. I'm so glad I never responded to this woman. This article is like legitimately amazing. This is like the best thing that's ever happened. Trisha said the incident made her more motivated to support LGBTQ students, but also caused her to reconsider how she'll participate in online workshops moving forward. Oh no! Oh no! She'll no longer show her face on camera or use her real name or identifying descriptors, she said. Oh, the horror! The horror of progressive leftists feeling like they can't just say whatever they want to on the internet without repercussion. Shadow Fox says they'd probably say they hid it because people weren't ready for their message and could get violent about it. They're not allowed to do that. It was sponsored by the Vermont Human Rights Commission, which is a state agency, and Vermont has open meeting laws. They weren't allowed to do that. Spy Stream can't hurt you if you just tell the truth. If you guys just tell the truth, it does nothing. Spy Stream only shows what you're saying, guys. In Burlington, The school district pulled the videos on anti-racism and gender identity from YouTube after negative comments flowed in. Superintendent Flanagan says school leaders are now considering what virtual content they will and won't post publicly. Just so we're all clear, I already downloaded those recordings, so they ain't hiding shit. I already have every single recording off of their YouTube channel before they started hiding stuff. So just in case we need to refer to it later, we still can. And it's their own fault because they put it on YouTube in the first place. Zoom bombing. When someone disrupts a virtual class or workshop was common early in the pandemic before organizers set more stringent privacy rules. But this latest trend of broadcasting and insulting the words of children and adults speaking in what they consider to be a safer space appears newer. To be extraordinarily clear, Allison, there is a rule on my channel, and you would have heard that rule if you watched Spy Stream because I damn well said it on Spy Stream. We do not insult children ever. I do not insult children ever. Children are merely parroting the language that they have heard from adults. That is all it is. We do not publicly insult children ever. And any insinuation that we do, you need to provide receipts, journalist. We don't want to be silenced in our work, and we do want to do everything we can to protect our community as we do it. Flanagan said there's a delicate balance. Well, Tom, sadly, you are the superintendent of a public school district. So you can't hide shit, Tom. Even if you tried to hide shit, we can FOIA absolutely every single thing you do. Yeah, rule number 1 of my cult is you don't be a dick. I said it several times. We do not insult children. We do not do that on this channel. Kaplan, who said his organizers is being more vigilant about virtual intruders, sees a connection between the recent verbal hostility and physical violence. Oh, so now they're going to try to make it seem like we encourage violence. That's great. On April 12th, Fern Feather, a 29-year-old transgender woman, was stabbed in Morristown, Jesus Christ. And last week, a still identified person hurled a chunk of concrete and shattered the front door of the Pride Center in Burlington's Pride Center of Vermont's office in Burlington. Mike Benzel, its executive director, told 7 Days that the organization has received an uptick in hate mail since the Ingram segment aired. Then stop grooming children on the internet. I don't condone violence. I do not support violence. If any of my supporters, or certainly any member of my unwoke army, were ever to even suggest violence, I would shut that shit down right quick. So what Allison, journalist, is trying to do here is insinuate that I encouraged violence, which I provably did not. It is incredibly important that people not be fooled to see things as isolated incidents, Kaplan said. There is a larger coordinated national effort that is happening right now, and trans youth in particular and trans people are the target. Borisenko initially agreed to be interviewed with 7 Days, but didn't respond to a follow-up request to schedule one. That is correct. That is correct, Allison. I followed my intuition and I decided I didn't want to talk to you. I am following. Allison, you are welcome to avail yourself of this stream if you would like my follow-up comment. On April 18th, she appeared on WVMT's radio show, The Morning Drive, with Kurt Wright and Anthony, where she continued to accuse the Burlington School District of indoctrinating, grooming, and threatened to request teachers' emails. Her statements went largely unchallenged by the hosts. When asked about the hateful messages the district received, Borisenko dug in. They've brought this on themselves by displaying children as a virtue signal. Yes. If they never put children on the internet, none of this would be happening in the first place. Yes. And don't think Allison, we can FOIA teachers' emails, and we will be FOIAing teachers' emails. We're making a fucking list of FOIA requests right now. We are allowed to see your emails. Public school teachers are public school employees. We will be FOIAing those emails. This isn't over, Burlington. Borisenko also claimed that teaching about equity and social justice in schools detracts from learning fundamental skills such as reading and math. Yes, according to the national report card right now, people graduating from high school have a 36% rate of being literate at a 12th grade reading level, and for writing and math, it's under 30%. Under 30% of kids graduating from public schools across the country are able to read, write, and do math. This is clocked, dude. You're teaching them social justice bullshit when you should be teaching them how to read. I went to school in Vermont at an underserved school. I know how I was like 7 fucking grade levels ahead of the other kids that I went to school with. I know how crappy the Vermont schools are. And now they're digging into this equity nonsense and they're taking already kids that are already underserved to begin with and making the problem worse. When I graduated from high school, even though I was ahead of everyone, even though I had the second highest SAT scores in my class, even though I graduated like third or fourth in my class without even really trying, when I went to college, it was hard. It was extremely hard because even though I was like better than most of the people I went to school with, I was still grossly unprepared for what it was like to be in college. It took me 2 years to catch up to the point where my peers were at in college because of how crappy the Vermont schools were. But those who work with LGBTQ youth say the opposite is true. Allison, I worked with LGBTQ youth before gay marriage was legal in Vermont. Supporting and empowering youth from marginalized identity groups is critical to those students' success. This is a matter of people having psychological and physical and emotional safety they need in order to show up and be part of a sports team, be part of a math class. Jessica agrees her son, a senior at Burlington High School, is transgender, and Oski says on a district LGBTQ task force that will soon recommend and make steps for Burlington High School's national model for LGBTQ holistic wellness. Oh, great! Another thing we need to look into. Last week, Jessica read to the school commissioners a letter about her son's 13 years in the district. She detailed how educators listened to her son, advocated for access to non-gender bathrooms in elementary school. In elementary school? Why did her child believe that he was trans in elementary school? I'm just saying. How the district and his friends stood up for him when he was bullied in middle school, how the high school worked to ensure that teachers would use his preferred name before it was legally changed. The school district's response are not always perfect. Everyone's intention and desire to figure out how to do the right thing was constant. To create this kind of foundation of acceptance, love, and caring that my child and so many others received is a gift he will carry with him for the rest of his life. The original print version of this article was headlined Space Invaders, and we know that's true because we can see the original print version of the article here. Fantastic hit piece, Allison. Fantastic hit piece where you leave out strategic information that you damn well had access to because I know you've watched my streams, dude. You obviously and clearly watched my streams. I'm sure you'll be watching this one as well. I'm not a conservative, Allison. My God. Well, the Unwoke Army is continuing our work on Vermont. Like I said, we took it easy for the past couple weeks because, to be quite frank, Vermont was like a marathon in a 5K time period for us. It was a lot. So we got a little bit burnt out. We have been working in the background. We are going to continue our work on this coming up real soon. All right, guys, you're watching Live at 5. This is a stream I do at 5 o'clock every day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on my main channel. On Fridays, you can come to our now 7 days endorsed happy hour on my second channel, youtube.com/activelyunwoke. And I just want to remind everyone, too, that tonight at 8 p.m., I will be on the Free State Live podcast. That is on the Free State channel. So go ahead come onto that. We'll be talking about why we absolutely need to defund the schools. And tomorrow, I've got a couple exciting things going on, too. Tomorrow, guys, I am having a real live turf on the channel tomorrow. I'm so excited about this. I don't consider myself to be a feminist at all, but I think that TERFs are just kind of like badass, to be honest. And while I'm sure I don't agree with everything Jennifer is going to tell me, I'm really interested to understand her perspective and her experience. We're gonna have a chat with radical feminist Jennifer Thomas tomorrow for TERF Tuesday. That's going to be happening at 5 o'clock. That's going to be really fun. And of course, Joshua is back. We will be doing the super chats that we missed out on last week. Joshua, not like maybe half an hour before the show last week, Joshua cut his hand, is essentially what happened. He's probably not going to want me to tell you this. Joshua cut his hand. He had to go to the hospital and get stitches. It was something stupid. Apparently, there was a lot of blood, but Joshua had to skip last week's show at the last minute. Don't worry. I got all the super chats. We have so much to cover on tomorrow's Nothing Remotely Controversial, which is going to happen at 9:30 tomorrow night on this channel. Jared says, I'm gay and I did not have any of this and I'm alive and fine. And it's okay to learn the hard way because they can better learn about themselves. I agree, Jared. So yes, tomorrow we are having TERF Tuesday at 5 p.m. And then we're going to do Nothing Remotely Controversial with Joshua at 9:30. All right, guys, please mount that like button if you haven't already. I want to talk about, where is it? There it is. I want to talk about this tweet that came out from, I don't know what this is. What is this group that does this? Real Evidence Against the Claims of the Left's Narrative. Oh, so I should probably follow them. We'll give them a follow. Eyes Inside the Classroom. That's what it is. Is this Teachers Exposed? I don't know if this is Teachers Exposed or if this is someone new. Teachers Exposed always gets banned on Twitter. They've come back like 3 or 4 times. Someone tell me if this is Teachers Exposed. I don't think so because Teachers Exposed usually follows me. Anyway, they posted these images on Twitter that I just wanted to take a quick look at. Kindergarten sex ed lesson plan in Washington State. The vagina has great elasticity and can adjust to the size of a penis. Okay, let's take a look at what Washington State is teaching kindergarteners. Now we can see this is a lesson curriculum called Understanding Our Bodies, the Basics. A lesson plan from Rights, Respect, Responsibility, a K through 12 curriculum. And we know this is for kindergarteners because I don't know if you guys can see this. It's a little bit hard to see. I understand. But it says right here, target grade, kindergarten, lesson 2. Let's read. A note on language. You will notice that this lesson refers to girls and boys and male and female when identifying body parts. Lessons in higher grades use more precise language and begin to introduce a broader concept of gender. So that means that they start to degender the language as kids get older. This lesson does, however, acknowledge that there are some body parts that are mostly just girls and some parts that mostly just boys have. Being a boy or girl doesn't have to mean you have those parts. But for most people, this is how their bodies are. And most people have a vulva and a vagina or a penis and testicles. But some people's bodies can be different. Your body is exactly what it is right for you. This is for kindergarteners. Kindergarteners. A note on concepts. You will learn the terms and concepts used in this lesson are very simple, recognizing that for many, provided more detail might be controversial at this grade level. You think? If you are in a setting where using more detailed anatomical drawings is possible for kindergarten, we recommend using the diagrams found in It's Not the Stork, a book about boys or girls, boys, babies, and bodies, families, and friends. A more in-depth version of the same lesson appears in the curriculum for grade 2. Oh, that's good. Learning objectives. By the end of this lesson, kindergarten students will be able to correctly identify at least 3 body parts of the female, namely the nipples, the vulva, and the anus. They will be able to correctly identify at least 3 body parts of the male, namely the nipples, the penis, and the anus. They will be able to describe why it is important for them to know the correct names for the genitals. Procedure. Step 1. Introduce the topic saying, Today, we're going to talk about bodies, including parts that everyone has in common, parts that we have that are different, and parts that are usually covered when we were in public. Explain that it's also important that everyone with a body knows how their body parts work and how to take care of it so that we can all be healthy. Step 2. Ask students to name the body parts that most people have in common. Let's see. Note to teacher, student answers might include most everyone has, like arms, feet, legs, fingers, head, eyes, and mouth. Some students may mention that not everyone has 2 arms or all 10 fingers. Acknowledge this by saying that is true, that not everyone is exactly the same, and everyone's body is fine just the way it is. But most people have 2 arms, 10 fingers, etc. Lesson 3. Tell students there are some body parts that mostly just girls have and some parts that mostly just boys have. These body parts, which are usually covered by clothing or a bathing suit, are sometimes called private parts or genitals. And today we want to make sure everyone knows the correct term for these parts and who has what body part. Direct students' attention to the PowerPoint where you have displayed the first slide. Explain that during the summer, when people go swimming, people generally wear bathing suits to cover their genitals. Explain that when we wash our bodies or go to the doctor for a checkup, it's important to know what our body parts are and how to keep them healthy. Display the next slide saying our bodies have lots of different parts like our head, our chest, our belly button, hand, and leg. Let's look at some parts we don't often learn as much about. Point out the following. Most girls have a vulva, which is the name for the area between the legs. The vulva describes the whole area, including the small hole where urine or pee comes out, called the opening to the urethra, the hole below that, which is a little bit bigger, and is called the vagina, that is used when a female has a baby, and the hole below that, where a bowel movement or poop comes out, called the anus. So, a person with a vulva has 3 holes between their legs and a very sensitive little area at the top called the clitoris. Holy shit. Why is Washington State teaching 5-year-olds? I mean, you actually have to respect the game in some respects. Washington State is literally teaching 5-year-olds how to find a clit better than most men will ever learn how to do in their lives. It's wrong. They shouldn't be teaching this to 5-year-olds. I mean, I would have absolutely no problem with a sex ed lesson around 16 teaching men like the very same thing because it is a very helpful skill that many of them, not the gay ones, but the straight ones, will need later in life. But it's a little bit concerning that they're teaching this at 5 years old. 4. Advance to the third slide and tell the class they need help to review the names of those body parts. Apparently, there's nothing controversial there. Let's keep going. Oh, never mind. Hang on. Let's go back. Step 5. Advance to the next slide 4 and explain the following. Most boys have a penis between their legs, which they use to urinate or pee. Some boys have a foreskin, which is a piece of skin that covers the end of the penis, and some boys do not. A boy also has a hole where a bowel movement or poop leaves the body called the anus. Just like a girl, boys have nipples on their chest, but they usually do not cover their nipples or chest when they are wearing a bathing suit. Even though both boys and girls have nipples, a boy's chest does not grow into breasts once he goes through puberty. If anyone wants to share in the chat whether or not they have a foreskin, now would be, I suppose, the time. Since we're trying to normalize this language, if anyone wants to share how many holes they have between their legs or how those holes or how their body parts comport themselves, go to town. Go to town. Mount that like button while you're doing it, please. And then we'll skip down to step 7. Explain to students that they may have heard different words to refer to their genitals, such as the penis or the vulva. Ask for a few examples of other words students have heard for these body parts. Oh my God. Note 86 says his foreskin was stolen from him. I'm very sorry for your loss. Very sorry. Step 8. Conclude the lesson by asking students, can anyone tell me a body part that most girls have but boys do not? The vulva. Can anyone tell me a body part that most boys have but most girls do not? The penis. Well, isn't this nice? And then they've got some teacher resources where it says the vagina has great elasticity and can adjust to the size of the penis. And then they say for men, when people talk about an erection as a boner, they're mistaken because they're trying to make the point that the penis does not have bones in it. And so calling it a boner is mistaken. Certainly a lesson that 5-year-olds need. Are you kidding me? I felt embarrassed just reading this. Did anyone else start to like, I'm not a prude about like, I tell you guys to mount the like button. Like, I'm not a prude about sex in any way, shape, or form. I've literally talked about critical dominatrix theory on this channel on multiple occasions. I'm not a prude about this at all, except when you're teaching 5-year-olds about the clit. That seems wrong to me. It seems inappropriate. Why are we teaching kindergarteners this? They don't need to know it. I'm sorry. They don't fucking need to know it. Oh my god. This Burlington, this right here. I bet you this shit is going on in the Burlington school districts. I bet you this is going on in Burlington as well. My god. My god. All right, guys. Well, if you are as disturbed by that as I am, you can find these full images and you can see for yourself. I definitely retweeted this, so it should be in my Twitter feed somewhere. But just in case you don't feel like scrolling through my copious amount of tweets, you can find this at EITC_official on Twitter. And you can see for yourself that I read that pretty accurately and that I didn't make anything up. All right. Well, let's see. Hang on. I got a super chat. Shadow Fox says, if your foreskin has been stolen, you should file a report with your local police. Theft is a serious crime that needs to be taken seriously. I just hope that you don't have conscious memory of your foreskin being stolen from you. That would just be my only hope and prayer for all of you who had your foreskin stolen. All right, guys. Well, we got one more thing to do today because 81% of you voted that you would, in fact, like me to read the introduction for my book, Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide about fighting back against woke insanity in your life. As a reminder, this book does actually come out tomorrow. Technically, some of you already have it, but it does actually come out tomorrow. And so if you would like your copy, you can head over to Amazon and order it. The link is in the description below. It's also pinned to the top of the chat on YouTube. If you don't want to order on Amazon, go to activelyunwoke.com. You can find some non-Amazon options. A couple quick notes before I read the introduction. Number one, if you order the book, and I think I might extend the dates on this, but let's just call it pre-order. If you order the book by tomorrow, possibly within a week of tomorrow as well, I will be emailing out more information about that tomorrow, depending on how I feel. You will get access to a special book club with me. And this is an exclusive perk. You don't have to pay anything for it. You don't even have to join my locals or anything like that. But if you pre-order my book today, you will 100% get a chance to join a 3-part exclusive book club with me where we will talk about the 3 sections of the book and help you develop your own action plan for fighting back against woke insanity in your life. The way that you get access to that is by forwarding your receipt to bookclub@activelyunwoke.com. And that way I know that only people who have ordered the book will be involved in the book club. But go ahead and forward your receipts there, and then I will be following up with more information. There is a chance that I might be changing the dates of the book club because I am waiting on more information from my publisher. Okay? So I may be changing the dates, and I am very, very hopeful that I will have more information on that soon. But for now, just get the book ordered, get your copy, whether it's the hardcover or the Kindle. Again, the audio version will be coming back at some point, one way or another. And we all have a great book club with people who are interested in learning how to fight back against the woke, just like the Unwoke Army is doing in the Burlington, Vermont school district. Yes, this is a good selling point for you to go ahead and order your book today. Because again, like there is a chance that I might be extending the period of time for this, but I will not be extending it more than like a week. So like you might as well just get it ordered today, and I will be sending out more information about that tomorrow. The other thing is that if you join my locals with an annual membership only, you will be able to get a customized autographed book plate from me, autograph made out to you with whatever message you like, or I can make up a message. It's totally up to you. This is only available to annual members in my locals. And to become an annual member in my locals, you head over to, there we go, kb.locals.com/support. Make sure that you're in the annual tab, which is $50 for an annual membership, which is great because it gives you 2 months for free. You get access to all sorts of exclusive perks, including our community Zooms. Our next community Zoom is actually in 40 minutes. So this is perfect timing, guys. If you would like to come to my community Zoom at 7 p.m. tonight, meet all the awesome members of my locals community, then it is perfect timing for you to do that. If you're not ready to become an annual member, if you don't want that autographed book plate, that's cool. You can still sign up for $5 a month, or you can join for free. Don't even have to pay. Join for free at kb.locals.com. Everyone should minimally do this because at least I have a way to contact you in case I get a stupid YouTube strike. I mean, let's be honest, dude. I'm doing Turf Tuesdays tomorrow, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that I might get a strike on my YouTube channel tomorrow. I'm literally having a turf on my channel tomorrow. There is a very good possibility that I could be getting a strike. And if I do get a strike tomorrow, you're definitely going to want to be in my locals because I will be able to communicate with you about what's going on. I will be able to provide you with alternate streaming sources to watch on while I wait out the stupid YouTube strike that I'm inevitably bringing on myself by having a turf on my channel. So make sure you join that, kb.locals.com, or if you want to become a supporter, you go to kb.locals.com/support. All right. Let me do this. I'm gonna bring that up there, and I'm just gonna leave this up for people to know what we're reading. I'm actually reading my print copy. Here is the introduction to Actively Unwoke as it should be read by me, the author. The introduction is called "You Are Not a Racist." The most important thing you need to understand about the woke in this country is that, for their leaders, everything is about power. Everything. And the easiest way to gain power over another human being is to scare them into silence. On the woke political left, they do this by calling everyone who disagrees with them a racist. That's the easiest way to gain power and control over another human being in our current reality. Think about it. Racist is the very worst thing you can be called in our society. It is virtually irredeemable. Instantly, your friends and family look at you differently, wondering if it's really true. Your employer may reconsider if you deserve a job. You may lose your banking privileges. Your credit card providers may cut you off. And you could be canceled, banned, or censored on the largest social media sites in the world. The places that have very literally become the modern town square. They take away your voice, both figuratively and literally. All of these outcomes and more have happened simply by someone on the left declaring that a person they wanted power over was a racist, and most of the time, no evidence of actual racism is required. In fact, if you deny your racism once you have been accused, people like Robin DiAngelo, author of the New York Times bestseller White Fragility, will tell you that your denial is proof of your racism. The more you deny the charge, the more proof they have of your obvious guilt. This tactic by the left is nothing new. Sure, there was a sharp uptick in accusations of racism under Donald Trump's presidency, but it was far from the first time the woke left played the race card. Though some have pegged this phenomenon starting much earlier, it can minimally be traced back to the 1970s with the publication of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Coincidentally, that's also when white voters in the South were exiting the Democratic Party to join the GOP in disproportionately high rates after decades of historic support. What better way to rationalize the loss of these critical voters than to play the race card? After all, they're white, they're from the South, they must be racist. And as more of this demographic supported the Republican Party, the more racist the party was portrayed by a woke left desperate to retain power. Ronald Reagan was called a racist for championing welfare reform and for his war on drugs. Though when Joe Biden joined the war on drugs and expanded the criminal penalties for convictions, the D next to his name was enough to help him avoid the racism charge. George H.W. Bush was called racist for the Willie Horton ad his campaign ran in an effort to depict him as the law and order candidate, while opponent Michael Dukakis was letting convicted murderers out for weekend furloughs. Willie Horton received one of those furloughs and used it to escape and commit more crimes. Bush was deemed racist for pointing that out. George W. Bush had a plethora of racism charges made against him, including that he was a racist for the administration's slow response to Hurricane Katrina, for wanting to invest more in border security, and for pushing immigration reform. John McCain, a hero on the left today, got called a racist when he was running against Barack Obama. The New York Times accused him of racially tinged attacks. Civil rights icon John Lewis charged that McCain was sowing the seeds of hatred and division. Teen Vogue asserted that McCain was patently Islamophobic. And CNN anchor Don Lemon tweeted, "The question is, do you think the McCain campaign is creating a political environment that is inciting hate and hate speech?" Even Mitt Romney, another current golden boy on the left since he voted to remove Donald Trump from office in his impeachment trial, was accused of racism once upon a time. And he was accused of it by none other than Joe Biden, who told a majority black audience that Romney wanted to put y'all back in chains at a campaign stop in Virginia during the 2012 presidential campaign. When Romney pushed back on the remark, the New York Times declared that denial was proof of his racism, paving the way for D'Angelo's work just a few years later. And of course, Donald Trump was declared the most racist of them all, mostly for quotes that were taken completely out of context. The most infamous is the Very Fine People hoax, the moment that Joe Biden credits with inspiring him to run for the presidency. What you've probably heard is that Trump called white supremacists and neo-Nazis in Charlottesville very fine people. Put the quote in context, however, and you immediately discover that he also said the following: "I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists. They should be condemned totally. You had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists. The press has treated them absolutely unfairly." But the corporate media left that part out, played the first part of the statement on an endless loop, and spent the next 4 years declaring that Donald Trump had never condemned white supremacy. So congratulations. If you have been called a racist in your life by someone on the woke left, or have ever been afraid of having the label hurled at you, you are in good company. Literally every major Republican politician and their supporters for the last 40 years have been called racist. There is always a rationalization from the left, and their propaganda arm, the corporate mainstream media, can sell to their viewers. The charge, once levied, is inescapable until you bend the knee. Notice that McCain and Romney both returned to the good graces of the left and the media when they began opposing Donald Trump. Now, you might not be a Republican, and that's okay. I'm not one either. The point is to understand the game at play. This was a game invented by people who are only interested in silencing their opponents so that power is easier to obtain and hold on to. We need heroes who are willing to fight back despite the odds, heroes who are willing to stand up and have their voices heard, even when it may come at a personal cost. Heroes who are willing to take on the fight, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. In order to effectively defend against what the woke is doing to this country, you have to know emphatically that the label of racist does not apply to you, or else you will forever be stunted and at their mercy. You are not a racist. Now, I can't guarantee that a rogue member of the KKK, an actual neo Nazi, or white identitarian didn't get their hands on a copy of this book. But the reality is that there is not as much racism in this country as the woke left would have you believe. Does it exist? Yes. And we'll talk about that later. But is 50% of the country racist purely because they didn't vote for a Democrat for president? No. If you believe that any one group of people is truly superior to all others based on nothing more than the color of their skin, you've got some soul searching to do. And let's be honest, probably some therapy as well. Same goes for anyone who might believe that a white ethno-state is a good idea or that the woke left is only out to elicit a white genocide. These are fear-mongering tactics on the right that do not help us fight the larger cultural battle at play. But if your only crime is believing that America is a pretty great place to live, that it is a land of opportunity, and that our liberties and freedoms are important to protect for everyone, then I need you to look in the mirror and repeat after me. You are not a racist. It is not racist to believe that freedom of speech should be absolute. It is not racist to want to practice your religion or spirituality. It is not racist to believe in small government. It is not racist to disagree with a non-white person. It is not racist to oppose universal health care. It is not racist to believe that taxation is theft. It is not racist to oppose the COVID lockdowns, mandatory vaccinations, or vaccine passports. It is not racist to believe that individuals can achieve whatever they put their mind to, regardless of the color of their skin. It is not racist to believe that America is the best, freest country in the history of the world. It is not racist to believe children should be taught in schools how lucky they are to live here. It is not racist to push back on any charge of racism levied against you purely because of who you support politically. And denying that you are a racist is not proof of your racism. No matter what Robin DiAngelo, Ibram X. Kendi, or the New York Times want to sell you. You are not a racist. These should be statements of obvious fact, but sadly, things have gotten so out of control on the woke left that they have literally changed the dictionary definition of racism in order to accommodate their new standard. After George Floyd's death and the anti-racist protests and riots swept the nation, recent college graduate Kennedy Mitchum suggested to Merriam-Webster that they update their definition of racism. And they bent the knee, revising their definition to include the systemic oppression of a racial group to the social, economic, and political advantage of another. It is this definition that the woke left uses to define anyone who disagrees with their agenda as a racist. We'll discuss more later on why the whole idea of systemic racism is nonsense. For now, here's all you need to know. You are not a racist. The woke left have been quietly and covertly fighting this battle for decades. Today, they control the most powerful forces in our country: the schools, the universities, the government, and the media. We have now reached a point where they are literally beginning to teach our children how to be little woke activists as early as elementary school and reinforce these lessons through middle school, high school, and college. Once they're out of school, they get these ideas reinforced every single day by CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and almost every other major media outlet in existence that calls all of their detractors, even the non-white ones, racists. You are not a racist. You won't even escape this ideology in the workplace. I'm an organizational psychologist by trade, someone who traveled the country doing trainings on how to be an effective manager and teaching mindfulness strategies in the workplace prior to the pandemic. After George Floyd's death, woke training took over my industry. It was near impossible to sell trainings that were not overly anti-racist in their nature, a code word for teaching people that they are racist if they disagree. It used to be that people assumed kids would graduate from college and get forced into the real world when they found a real job. Now these organizations coddle their young employees, even paying tens of thousands of dollars per day to bring woke trainers in to reinforce the ideology. If you think everyone around you is going crazy, you are not alone. You are not a racist. Critical race theory, the ideology of the woke that we will be focusing on this book, isn't really about race. It's not about creating a more fair or equal or just society. It is only about power. They utilize it because focusing on race is both the easiest way to keep people fighting each other and the easiest way to keep people submissive to the mob. If they're focused on each other, that means they aren't looking at where the real enemy is. Those who profit off of keeping the divisions going. In fact, this ideology has created a lot of useful idiots who are just as toxic to the people they label as oppressed as is for the oppressors, teaching them that they will forever be defined by the color of their skin and that the world will always work against them. Some argue that the woke ideology is anti-white. This is a terribly short-sighted view that fails to acknowledge that the ideology is anti-everyone. It loves white people who agree with it. It hates white people who disagree with it. This ideology teaches that Black people are incapable of working hard, telling time, or getting a driver's license without the help of liberal white saviors to lift them up. These ideas are incredibly racist, and they are trying to gaslight you into believing that you are a racist merely as a projection of their own unmanaged baggage. You are not a racist. In order to become actively unwoke, you must get over any fear you have of being called a racist, knowing that the accusation itself says more about the person making it than it does about you. No matter what anyone says or what they try to convince you of, you have to believe with every fiber of your being that what they are saying is absolute bunk. Do not let them trick you. Stand your ground. Know that you're doing the right thing. When you stop being afraid of being called a racist, you take their power away from them. When enough people take their power away, that's when we can start fixing the damage that they have done. You are not a racist. Do you get it yet? You are not a racist. You're about to join the battle for a whole way of life, for the beacon of hope that the United States has been for the world for the last 250 years. This fight isn't about Democrat or Republican. It's not about liberal values or conservative values. It's about American values. Are you ready? Okay, now we can get to work. Well, that's the introduction to my book, Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against woke insanity in your life. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I worked really hard on this book. This book was incredibly difficult for me to write. It was a really soul-sucking experience. I actually wrote most of this book while I was being canceled by the right, really badly, undergoing the worst cancellation that I ever experienced. And the reason I say that is because I worked very hard at one of the hardest times in my life to make this a positive book and to make it an uplifting book and to make it something that, dare I say, have some fun with fighting back against the woke. Because, world, this is a challenge that we have to confront, and I don't think it should be a negative experience. It doesn't have to be a negative experience. We can create whatever experience we want, even when we're suffering through bullshit. So it comes out tomorrow in hardcover and Kindle version. I really hope people like it. If you do like it, please leave a positive review on Amazon. It really does help. I've already got a couple reviews. Up on Amazon because the Kindle version got accidentally released early. So if you have the Kindle version, if you're already reading it, please leave a positive review, 5 stars. That way, we can help kind of lift the book up and get more people to buy it. Hopefully the hardcover version will be showing up tomorrow for people who bought it. It is going to be available in bookstores as well. So you can head down to the Barnes & Noble if you want it tomorrow. And if you would like to get involved in the book club that I'm hosting for this, please send your receipts to bookclub@activelyunwoke.com. Again, I will be sending out more information on the book club. I'm really trying to wait to find out more information about when my audio version is going to be re-recorded because there have been quality control issues with the audio version. to say the least. So I will be re-recording the audio version. I will be reading the audio version. I just don't know when yet, and I'm really trying to find out as quickly as I can when that's going to happen, so that you guys can get that version as well if you like. But if you want to join my book club for it, send your receipts to bookclub@activelyunwoke.com. And if you would like to get an autographed book plate, that will be available to annual subscribers in my locals. There's more information about that. This post is actually pinned to the top of my locals community. So if you are in locals, you should have that access to that post right at the top of the community. But essentially, if you are an annual supporter in my locals, the email address is under my ticker. Hang on, I'll take this banner down. So you can, this is only for annual members in my locals. You can send your locals handle, mailing address, and your customization request to locals@activelyunwoke.com if you would like a customized autographed book plate. And I will be checking to make sure you're a local supporter. I know most of my annual members, I think, but I will be double checking. So make sure you sign up as an annual member. You can do that by heading over to kb.locals.com/support. Clicking over to annual and signing up for $50 for the year. And that's going to get you access to all sorts of exclusive perks, to include the community Zoom call that will be starting in 20 minutes. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the introduction. I did see a super chat come in from Emphasize. It took 5 days for those of us in the National Guard to get in after Hurricane Katrina. There were boats on tops of trees. There were trees, houses, abandoned cars on the road. It was hell. I can't imagine what that must have been like. Emphasize. It was such a horrible, tragic event. Not to say I was a fan of W, because I was not. But I understand that was probably harder than the media made it out to be. All right, guys, I'm going to go take a quick 20-minute break before we gather in my locals for our community Zoom. Please make sure you mount that like button on the way out the door. And remember, I will be on Free State Live tonight at 8 p.m. So I'll be taking a short trip away from the community Zoom to do this because I got cornered for that when I was drunk. And then tomorrow, we'll be having Turf Tuesday. Tomorrow on the show, I will be interacting with a real live turf. I'm very excited about this. Join us at 5 p.m. tomorrow for that stream. And then, of course, tomorrow night at 9:30, we have our regular show with Joshua. Joshua is back. He has gotten stitches. He is fine. I just saw it earlier. It's like a little knuckle thing that apparently it's like right here. That's all. He's fine. Just maybe a little annoyed that he had to miss our show last week, but we have so many questions to catch up on. Oh my God, I have so many questions for Joshua around the whole abortion debate and the impact on the midterms and all that good stuff. We'll be covering that tomorrow at 9:30 on the channel. All right, guys, I'm going to go take a little bit of a break. Take care, and I will see my locals members